Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. My name is Minnie and thank you so much for tagging along with us today. Really quickly, before we get into the Battlefield 6 content, if you could interact with this video, whether that be a comment, a like, or subscription, or even just watching the video all the way to the end, that would be greatly appreciated. We're building this channel from the ground up, and again, any interactions, anything that you can do to help support would be awesome, and I would appreciate that very much. But with that being said, I want to get into the main topic of today's video, which is Battlefield 6 and my initial impressions as somebody that used to be a fan of the Battlefield franchise a long time ago, and it's been well over a decade, probably since I was in middle school, since I played a Battlefield game. But just to give you some context before I go on sort of my much longer tangents about my favorite aspects of the game, the things that I like, the things that I wish they kind of brought back, and the new things that they have incorporated into the game since Battlefield 4 that have really helped out the gameplay. But for starters, I was a huge fan of Battlefield 4 in the, early 2010s / mid 2010s, and I stopped playing around 2014, 2015. So in October of this year, when the game was released, I believe it was October, I decided to download Battlefield 6. I saw a lot of discourse about it online, saw a lot of my favorite YouTubers that I watched a decade ago getting back into the game, and I thought I would give it a try. And I'll be honest with you, you can put two and two together. Like, I'm obviously making this video, so there's definitely some sort of enjoyment for the game, but I am a massive fan of the game. I'm not just a casual fan. I would say that I'm pretty bought in on what Battlefield brought to the table this time around. Specifically, the gameplay seems so thoughtful, the weapons, the gadgets in particular as well. Things that truly feel like a Battlefield game. Those aspects are definitely prevalent, but with a modern twist, right? You have all of the, more modern styles of, the design of the game, right? So instead of doing the DLC packs like they did with Battlefield 4, they're doing seasons. Currently, we're in Season 1, and I've been enjoying the content that they've been adding to the game over the course of the time that it's been available since October, which has kept the game fun, and it's really been like getting a new gift as you play the game more and more and unlock new things and get to see that there's new weapons, new maps, new game modes, even with RedSec, which I will get to over the course of this video as well. But yeah, I've just had a very good time playing the game. From a gameplay perspective, I'll start by talking about that a little bit, but the gameplay feels a lot more fast-paced, and obviously that was a design structure when they were developing this game. They were trying to shorten the time in between interactions of players in comparison with Battlefield 4. If you're playing the bigger game modes like Conquest, right, it is a much longer time before you interact with players. However, that comes with its downsides, right? With the maps being smaller, with the maps being designed to have more of those interactions, you sacrifice a lot of the beautiful design that you got in the Battlefield 4 games. One of the only flaws that I would say that I could even pick out of this game, or things that are glaring issues to me just from a longtime Battlefield fan, as I mentioned, is that the maps aren't nearly as vibrant with colors or as beautiful as they were in previous games, which you would think a decade after Battlefield 4 came out that the maps would be even more gorgeous and be even more thoughtful, but there is a lot of flaws in the map design which I think are contributing to the biggest amount of problems with the gameplay. With that being said, the release of Battlefield 6 in comparison with Battlefield 4 was much more smooth. Those of you that remember playing the game back in 2013, 2014, the initial release of Battlefield 4 was a shaky one. There were a lot of glitches, a lot of bugs, a lot of weapons that needed to be adjusted, and things of that nature. But this was probably one of the cleaner Battlefield releases in my memory, and this is coming from somebody that did not play Battlefield 5, that did not play Battlefield 2042. The last Battlefield game I think I even considered playing was Battlefield Hardline, which left a bad taste in my mouth as a fan of the franchise, to say the least. But the map design has been an object of concern, mainly because The color schemes of the maps have made it very difficult to play, most notably Blackwell Fields, but I would even say that Siege of Cairo and some of the other maps suffer from this as well. But just the lack of vibrant colors makes it so that the soldiers on the map at times are hard to play against, and it feels like the skins in the game, while they could have sort of an advantage, it really plays to the advantage of players to just wear darker colored skins and use sort of the darker hues of the maps to their advantage. Also, in terms of the gameplay, I just think because they're trying to shorten the distance in between interactions, there are so many areas where it's easy to get pinned down, especially in certain game modes, right? I'm thinking to break through and rush, most notably with the Manhattan Bridge map on the game, and just my entire experience on that map with being an attacker on that objective is that the defenders have all of the leverage in that scenario, which, while it may seem like a very realistic kind of experience, obviously we're not playing video games for it to be a realistic experience, but there's definitely a call for change in my mind and the mind of many Battlefield fans that I've just seen on the internet, on Reddit, on YouTube, things of that nature. But aside from the map design, I've been a big fan of everything else. In terms of the classes, it seems like there was a lot more intentionality put into the classes than in previous Battlefields. So the support class taking over as kind of the healer and ammo provider is a big role for support, and I think it's really filled it out from just, you know, the defib and health pack merchant to a player that is legitimately irreplaceable in any squad. No matter what squad you're in, having a support player to get revives, or no matter what team you're on for that matter, because support players are also the only ones that can revive outside of their class. And I don't want to make this a class by class, you know, rundown of the entire game, but support in particular feels like one of those classes that got so much thought put into it that they even looked at, you know, the specialty weapon, for instance, being an LMG, having the weapons coincide with what the gadgets are doing, I thought was very good design. And on the flip side, when you look at the assault class, at first glance, even before playing the game, I thought the assault class was going to be practically useless. And you're watching me use the assault class in this gameplay right now, but I can tell you it's not. And that adrenaline injector does have a function when you know how to use it properly. Likewise, I think that there are other functions for the gadgets there as well. You know, having those anti-infantry explosives slash those tools that are available to break down walls and things of that nature is super helpful. It's also extremely versatile that there are launchers that aren't even intended to be used to do damage to infantry, but are used to break down walls or do incendiary damage to get people from camping, or to do smoke grenade type simulations on the battlefield as well. It's just super neat that the launchers have all sorts of diverse functions as well. And it adds that sort of extra layer to the assault class that I think initially, if you were just looking at this game without playing it, you would be like, oh, this class kind of seems useless, but it actually has a lot of practicality when you get onto the battlefield. As for the engineer class, while I do think the engineer class is the one that has changed the least since Battlefield 4, it is important to note that because of the shortened interaction time in the game, it does feel like one of the only classes, with the exception of C4 and the Recon, that can actually sway when a vehicle is taking out helicopters and jets, or when a vehicle is just simply massacring an objective. It really feels like engineers are the only ones that can really stick their nose in there and, you know, either use the repair tool to get the tank off of its, you know, game and maybe place mines around it, or just use launchers to force the tank to get behind cover and out of the line of sight of infantry. Also, I do have to talk about a class that has slowly become my favorite class, and this is a big jump because I was not a huge fan of Recon in Battlefield 4, but Recon in Battlefield 6, particularly with the tugs, which I know isn't anything new, but particularly the tugs has made playing Recon with carbines, SMGs, so much fun. Like, I am such a big fan of putting a tugs down on an objective and not only providing support by spotting enemies at the objective, but being there to place C4 on a tank, like I mentioned with the engineer class, but having that opportunity to be an anti-tank vessel, or to be that player that can plant C4 around, an MCOM, or plant it around a specific corner, and therefore provide that extra support for your team that you need, where you can, from a distance, still, do suppressive damage and allow yourself to kind of set booby traps for the enemy, I also think is pretty neat. But all of the classes, man, have made the game so much fun to play. And lastly, aside from the classes and the maps in particular, the game modes feel like Battlefield game modes. Rush, which was one of my favorites in the past and one of my favorites now, is super fun, it's super fast paced, and all of the classes seem to have roles that fill out exactly what the team needs in those scenarios. Additionally, Conquest is your traditional Conquest. I still have a lot of fun playing it, while it is not my favorite because it just doesn't really fit my play style as well as I want it to. It is super fun. And RedSec, which I alluded to earlier, which is completely new to the Battlefield world, but doesn't really feel new in terms of a game mode. I've really said this, off the record, obviously, not on YouTube, because this is my first video on the channel, but I have alluded to the fact that Battlefield is one of the better fits in terms of a game that could have a Battle Royale mode, just because of the versatility that the game has from the classes. Particularly, if you want to run quads in Battle Royale, it is so much fun to have everybody play each specific role in that game mode and fulfill exactly what they need to do, right? So whether that is, the engineer late in the game when another team maybe gets a drop that includes a tank or something like that, inevitably becoming a very important role player in that, or whether it is the support player being that guy to keep the squad alive to get them to the end of the round. I have had fun in the moments that I have gotten to play RedSec, but more content on that coming soon for sure. And I'm having so much fun on Battlefield 6, and it has really inspired me to make this channel and to get back on YouTube, and I'm just super grateful that we have the opportunity to play this game. I'm going to, continue to obviously express my opinions on the game as things develop. If the DLC content isn't exactly what I had hoped for, or what we as a community of Battlefield players have hoped for, that may change my opinion on the game going forward. But for right now, I do think that there was a really solid foundation of Battlefield 6, and I look forward to continuing to play it. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. As always, please hit the like, comment, subscribe button. And yeah, if you made it this far, I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.